Blessed be everyone. Hello and welcome to another episode. I'm sorry we've been away. I have been really trying to deal with, my issues, my sinus issues, and then I've also been very sick. I was sick, very sick twice, like for a week. Like the first time it happened, it was like the first week, and I was okay, and then I pushed myself a little too much, and then I came right back full blown, and I was like, oh boy, I can't do that again. So here we are. Because we missed Valentine's Day, I wanted to talk about everything about love. Because I mean, there's love in the world, right? Matt, how are we doing today?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good, thanks. How you
Okay.
doing?
Uh, yeah, it's been a crazy week. I've been coming home from work. Usually, I'm a little like, ugh. So I just kind of take a little nap, and my dad and I went out for breakfast this morning. Oh, I ate way too much. I always seem to like eat too much when but my dad had like 3 plates of food. I'm like, where are you putting this all? He's like, in my belly. So um, but here we are. We're going to talk about, because we were supposed to have this before Valentine's Day, and now we're a little late. And like I said, that is my fault. But I was healing up. The goddess was really helping me to, heal up from sickness, so or illness. So hopefully, we can talk about all about that. Now, let me extend to the audience. I'm sure you all had a very great Valentine's Day with your honey. Matt and I both have honeys, yes?
Well, we're just friends, but I mean, I'm infatuated.
See, that's okay. That's okay my honey and I just kind of spent the night together. Of course, a little hubby there. But it was mostly we just wanted to exchange, love letters, and I still have to write mine because he knows I was really sick. So he tried to, make me feel more comfortable and or as comfortable as possible. So for all those who are single and alone, I mean, you can just skip this if you want to, if it hurts too much. I hope it doesn't hurt too much. But for those who are single, I hope you at least did something for yourself, because self love is also a part of that love factor. You don't have to have a honey to, love yourself. They always say you got to love yourself first before anyone else can. So, and that's a good saying, I think. So, so when we talk about love, what do we talk about? Well, we talk about all of it. We can talk about relationship love. We can talk about friendship love. We can talk about animal love, because we both have pets.
No
You have some
furries.
chickens, I think, right, Matt?
Yeah, yeah, chickens and a dog and a cat.
I have 3 cats, so, I feel that love and that they have, because I mean, they're all 3 spoiled, trust me. They all get their belly rubs, and they all get their snicky snacks. I call them snicky snacks because they're just, they're snacks, and that's all they crave. I try to give them, the real food, and they don't want that. They want the snacks. So my girls are spoiled, of course, all of them. And when you talk about, we had Robin on, and she has fur babies, and she likes to talk about fur babies. Um, I I do consider my 3 cats my fur babies, or my girls, as I call them, because they sort of are like, children in that aspect. You do have to care for them, and feed them and take care of them, which is something that, I mean, we do for children as well. Of course, we both have children, so the love of children, I would do anything for my son. In fact, I had to get him more clothes, and bigger ones at that. I mean, we're already in a 14, 16, and I mean, he's 8 years old. There's only so much. I mean, he's just growing, and I told him to stop that stuff. No, I'm kidding. And yours is 10. Your son is
Oh,
10.
11.
11.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so close. But yeah, he's 11, and I'm sure you've had to, he's in and out of clothes every couple of months. So we're looking at, spring and summer clothes. So I had to get him some new shirts. And of course, like I said, they were 14, 16s, and he's already out of the 10, 12s. My son is. Um, he's just growing up real fast. The other day, it's kind of crazy. I found a note. It wasn't a love note. It was more like a friend love kind of note in his book bag, and it was from this girl. And I was kind of like taken aback. I'm like, you're only 8 years old, and you're getting notes from girls already. Um, yeah, I didn't know exactly how to handle that. Have you ever seen that, Matt? Has any girls put any notes in your son's backpack yet?
Not yet, but
Oh, phew,
when I was in
you're lucky.
kindergarten, I was getting girls dolls and flowers. Oh
Oh no.
yeah, I started early.
I admit I've been kissing boys since I was 4. Don't tell my current man that. No, he's cool with it. I mean, I was 4. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just, mwah, that kind of a thing. And it is something that, like you you can't imagine being like your child, but I mean, you love your child. I love mine very, very much. And again, we hang out all the time. Like, we're in my room and he's on his pad, and we'll, make jokes to each other. And it's called hanging out, hanging out in mama's room. And, it's just something that him and I like to do. Sometimes we'll hang out in his room and again, tell jokes and talk about school. I like to ask him a lot about school because he's super smart. He gets A's and B's, and I think that's good for a kid, him, because I mean, like I said, he's super smart. Like I asked him, how what did you get on your spelling test? Oh, 13 out of 10. I went, holy cow. I mean, he can spell better than me. I need spell check, and even spell check half the time is like, I don't know what you're trying to spell here, lady. So, but that unconditional love, of a child, or you may have a significant other that you feel very strongly for. I mean, my guy, trust me, it's him and my son. And, my dad is a close third because my dad, let's face it, a love of a parent. We were just talking about parents, how my dad, made a pig of himself. But that's okay. I don't mind my dad eating a lot, and splurging on himself, when you have the money to do that. Um, because we went out for breakfast, of course, and I had 2 plates, and I'm like, "Whoo, I'm full." Ugh, and he's like just eating and eating. I'm like, Dad, I think you should slow down a little bit. um, but not, you have that love for a parent, you have that love for a child. I think that's it's so much different than romantic love, the one that you would express for a relationship. But it can be just as powerful. If it wasn't for my son, I don't know where I would be today. Because trust me, I have pictures of him all over the office wall. Now, no one can see because, of course, I have a background here. But yeah, I have pictures of him. And I have pictures of him saved on a little drive from when he was in my tummy, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for my son. Same thing for my man. The only thing I wouldn't do is give up the love I have for my son. And I don't think my guy would ask me to do that because he knows it would always be my son first. And he wouldn't even make me make that choice. If you love someone, you don't usually wouldn't make them, make that choice because they'll pick their children out every time. At least I would hope so. If they're good parents like you and me, Matt. um, so let's go back a little bit. So when you found out you were going to be a dad, how excited were you, Matt?
I was very excited. There was a time in my life when I was a teenager that I didn't want to be, but I found out I was elated. And when he was born, I will never forget because he grabbed my beard as hard as possible and he just stared right in my eyes, and it was the craziest thing that's ever happened. It was just unforgettable.
It was love at first sight. I'm sure for your son, it was like, "Wow, this is my dad, and I get to touch him physically." I think, babies can pick up on that, like, when they're in the womb, they can kinda hear their parent's voice, and they feel that bond or that closeness. Um, I admit I cried like a baby when my son was born. But, they were all happy tears. They were happy tears, and then he did this, I was like, "Yeah, he's my son." Because I would do that too when I was young and, like, when I was sad about something or if I was crying, I would go, Um, so, yeah, you could definitely tell he was my son, but, nothing but happy tears, and then, of course, he was sort of early. I think we my app was off. So I think he was a little bit early, but not too much early as we had thought. We had previously thought he might have been like 32 weeks, but I think he was at least 36, like 36, 37. So we could have like messed up the, conception part, but that's okay. Oh, excuse me. He only stayed in the NICU for a week and a day. And he, sorry. He literally, like, I would get up at 2 a.m. to feed him because that's what they told me to do. And they were kind of shocked when I came down to feed him. They're like, wow, other mothers wouldn't do this. I'm like, he's my son. I'm going to do it. He's my son. Um, and we bonded right away. I think that's why we're so close because he knew that I would always be there for him and I protected him when he was, a baby. See, I don't know, my son just liked to sleep. He didn't really like to cry a lot. He just more or less liked to sleep. He was just like, "Leave me alone, woman. I'm trying to sleep here." I'm like, "But you need to eat." And he's like, "No, I need to sleep." Okay, you sleep. um Instinctively, I think as parents, we all know what our children need. Um, I think I was just a little overcautious because, he was a preemie technically, and I wanted him to get, bigger, and I didn't want him to fall behind the 8 ball, so to speak. Um, so yeah, maybe I was a little, like, "You gotta eat. Come on, bud, you gotta eat." Um, and he was really good at taking milk. Well, I we did have some milk, and then I kind of ran out, so then we used um, formula. Yeah. Um, but I think that I mean he was a really good baby. I never really had any issues. He never really cried unless he was, wet or needed changed or something. Um, and he always liked the bath. He always, like, would stare at me in the bath. Like, "What are you doing, lady?" Um, and I just think that well, now he takes a shower because he looked at my neighbor the other day and goes, "I'm 8 years old. I take a shower now." I just I was like, "Oh, boy." "Yeah, you'll be going off to college next week, right, bud?" Oh, jeez. He's just growing up so fast. And that's why I think my love for something so beautiful that I helped to create and then give birth to, obviously, um, it really deepened that that love, that maternal instinct. They always say when you become a mother or father, that maternal instinct will come out, or paternal instinct for the men in the audience and my co-host. Um, it's something, yeah, it's just definitely something that you wanna love and protect this little being that you created or helped to create. And, they have their own personalities, their own quirks. My son loves to call me Big Feet, but it's a joke. It's always a joke between us, and, so we say it back to each other, and then I'll tickle him and he giggles. And that's just how it goes. He tries to tickle me back, but I'm not really ticklish. That's one of my quirks is that I'm like, "Yeah, no, sorry, dude. I'm not, sorry, bud. I'm not ticklish." And he'll be like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, sorry." um, but let's so when your son started to get a little older, did you I think the love changes. It just kind of deepens. So like when you get into a relationship with someone, at least this is how I felt when I got into my relationship with my guy currently, um, that love deepened, for my, man, but also for my son, because now there was someone there to fill the void of someone who wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like, for example, my ex sees him every other weekend, unless like right now he's out of state, so they kind of canceled. But that's okay. He still has a relationship with my ex, who is his father, and he has a relationship, with me. Um, and I know his father loves him in his own way, but I think when it came to my son, like all other relationships deepen. So like a father and daughter relationship that I have with my dad really got deeper. And I mean, let me just say, my son and my father are very, very close. There literally is going to be um my son will fall apart. And I'm hoping that I can be there to be his rock when that happens. But my dad, I mean, he's only going to be what, 70, so he's still kind of young, even though I call him old. um, is that the same way with you, Matt? Is your son very close to your parents?
No, he is. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all live in the same house, so.
Yeah. So, and when that happens, I think there's a deeper bond that goes with that. And I mean, he's definitely a grandpa boy. I mean, grandpa dotes on him, dotes on him, buys him pretty much anything he wants. Within, I mean, there's limitations, but I mean, there are those, hey, grandpa, can I have some cookies? And we're like, all right, fine. um, so there's that, love of grandparents, sort of something. I was close to my mom's mom, but I never met my dad's mother because she passed when my dad was 12. Of course, I wasn't even thought of yet. So, I think even though she kind of passed, I still feel a bond with her, even though a lot of my other grandparents I didn't really get close to. And they're all past now. So, is there love of grandparents there, Matt, that you might have felt with your grampy or vampy, or what would you call him? I'm
Vampa.
sorry,
Vampa.
Vampa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, can you explain a little bit about that and the closeness that you guys had?
Well, I mean, I forget where it was said, but there's such an important thing to be able to connect to your grandparents if you're blessed enough to be able to, because not everyone is able to, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just, our ancestors live in us, at least the way I view it. And so to be able to make that kind of a connection is so important, because it gets you to understand yourself and your parents in different ways that you wouldn't be able to. And I mean, it's literally, communicating with your family tree, which is such a huge thing in Norse culture, even after they're beyond the physical realm. Is that's like the first thing to do, is make contact with your ancestors, because of course they want what's best for you, hopefully, usually. But yeah, I mean, we always went to my grandparents' house, both grandparents actually. We would go to my mom's parents and then my dad's parents, like for every holiday. And there's always a lot of people, and a lot of family, and it was great. And I think it's sad once that stops happening, because it's such a great thing to be able to have that safety and foundation and all that. And unfortunately, it does for everybody. Eventually things change and people die, and it's so sad. But the good thing is it always lives in your heart and gives you a good place to go to, even if it's just memories. And then it also gives you something to pass on down to your children and even other people that aren't, related to you, just to show love. I mean, because yeah, like you were saying, love comes in so many different ways. There's love for, music. Oh my gosh. There's a great song by John Miles. Music was my first love, and music has such an emotional effect on me. I could put on a sad song. It's called ECI, and it's a song that is like, during your formative years. I can put on an Ozzy Osbourne song, and if it's a sad one, it hits hard. and then I know I've got to put on a happy song after that because it's just otherwise it'll drag me down. Because there was some sad times like everyone has, of course, and yeah, it's important to have that kind of stuff or a movie, that just really emotionally gets you.
Well, music for me was always like an anger management thing. Like, if I was always angry at something, I could put on some music and feel a lot better. Um, for me, I was really heavily into country, so a lot of my country songs would get me through the hard times. Um, and all I would have to do is just, blare it in my ear. And of course, yeah, parents, oh, turn it down, you're gonna be deaf. Well, that didn't work out so well, did it? Because excuse me, here I am, almost 40. No, I'll be 39 this year. Um, yeah, and that's kind of funny because, like, literally Easter and the second night of WrestleMania is on my birthday. But there's also, like, you were saying how movies, TV shows are another thing. My love of wrestling really got me through the hard times with my mother and the relationship I had with her. Because back when I was 11, 12, 13, you had Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was versus Vince McMahon. So you had that, like me living vicariously through Stone Cold and wanting to tell my mother that, hey, I don't deserve this. I'm a person too. I don't deserve your grief. Um, but I think that some things are there to teach us, lessons, and we have passions for them. I have passions for country music, for my religion, Wicca, of course, and this show, Black Magic Talk. There's so much just love I have for everyone who tunes in, who loves to watch the show, says, I didn't know a lot of things until I started watching your show and really opened my eyes. That gets you right in the heart too. When you have that kind of feedback from people and you can kind of understand where they're coming from. um I have joined a coven, so I will know what that feels like because I've been solitary so long. But they say, when the student is ready, then the teacher will appear. And that's always happened in my life. When I needed someone to come in and help me with my Wicca or my witchcraft or whatever, someone has come along to do that. Whether it's been a teacher or a god or a goddess. I mean, I just explained to you a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, Odin is calling to me, and I have no idea why. And you were like, really? I was like, yeah, it was really weird. Uh, and we were just and my guy and I were just watching, um, the history of Christmas and how it became Christmas and where it was pagan first, and um, how Odin he's this figure, and he's what became of Santa Claus. Now, my son is 8 and he still believes in Santa Claus. Okay, yada yada yada. I mean, just let them believe in that stuff until they're, older, because when they're older, Christmas loses its magic. Let's be all, we're all adults here. We can all speak freely.
Hey, speak for yourself. I still believe in Santa, so.
Oh, there you go. He's Odin dressed up as the jolly old Saint Nick. And Odin hopefully will bless you with many, many gifts and abundance and prosperity. But when you have a god or a goddess call to you, such as Hecate or Odin or whoever, Kali Ma called to me, which is really weird because I've seen Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom many, many, many times. And it was that love that I felt from Kali Ma, never evil. Like, I always felt like she was misunderstood. And my boss, she's from the Caribbean, um, Trinidad, in fact, and she was telling me like she kind of follows Kali Ma to a certain extent. And I was like, why not? I mean, she's just been so misunderstood, I think. Hollywood has kind of, made her evil, and she's not evil at all. Like, I've never felt evil come from her at all. In fact, I've felt nothing but love come from her. So there you go. A love of a god or a goddess can also um, call to your soul, to your spirit. Um,
And the
because
challenge can be confused as not being loving, but Just
Right.
because you're challenged doesn't mean it's not love.
Right.
Just like a parent does. I mean, sometimes you see your kid needs to do something, and it might be harsh lesson, but it's out of love.
But it's
Hopefully.
out of love, right? What they call tough love. Oh yeah, I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But it taught me a valuable lesson in life that not to count your chickens before you hatch, and to, when a god or a goddess calls to you, if you think they're evil, such as, let's for example, let's say Loki would call to me, I'd be like, I know Loki's history, but maybe that's not the real him, you know. um there's something deep down that if Loki calls to you, there's a reason why. There's always a reason why a god or a goddess would call to you and say, I'm here to help you. I will be your main god or goddess, or I will just be here to help you, and then someone else will take my place. Um, this happened with Aphrodite. I was very heavily into Aphrodite. Her and I had, she had called to me. I had loved hearing about Aphrodite. I named a cat after her because she was, my main goddess that I would call to. And then she stopped coming to me. And I was kind of confused at the point, but I kind of understood when, all these other god and goddesses started calling to me. So Isis, Osiris, um, Kali Ma, Hecate, and then of course Odin would sneak in there too. And I was like, hey, more the merrier, because I need all the help I can get sometimes. It's a little hard. This thing we call life can be very hard, but certain gods and goddesses will come to us, and we get us to that achievement of whatever we wish to have. So abundance, prosperity, or sometimes they put them together, abundance and prosperity, love, and relationships, of course. And then also, if we're, spiritual healing, I know some of that. Sometimes I need that, especially because I've been so sick lately, and I'm like, ugh. And I'm just so worn out, like I just need that refreshing spiritual healing. Um, to come from the goddess or the earth, or however, whatever path you choose, whether you have a god or goddess, you may just use the representations, and that's okay too. However you feel that healing, sometimes I think some of us really need it, because like I can speak for myself. Like I said, I've been just all kinds of sick lately. Sometimes I feel better. Some days I feel better than other days. And I know this show has kind of suffered for it. I'm sorry. But I definitely think that we're on the right track with it. And, my illness has kind of dwindled, majorly dwindled. There's just a few effects still taking place. And that just comes with every illness as you're trying to get over it. Um, and mostly because of the weather. I mean, we've had more snow this winter than we had in the 5 previous winters. I mean, it's like every other day there's like, "Oh, an inch of snow is headed your way," or 3 inches of snow is heading your way, or 5 inches of snow is heading your way, and I'm like, "Stop with the snow."
Yeah, it's
That's
been
all.
really crazy in a lot of states.
Well, and you have had the fires. Obviously, Matt is in California. Now, none of the fires got to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, they were pretty far away,
They were
but
far away.
still,
Okay,
yeah.
but there's still that ooh boy, we you never know. It could blow the other way, and then you're up poop creek without a paddle. Um, and that's a good thing. I think the goddess really, or God and goddess really bless you um with being far away, that you don't have to, lose your house or lose pets, or, um, I really feel for the people in California who have to deal with that every single year. And I complain about the snow because I'm not a kid anymore. I think it's more magical. Snow is more magical when you're a kid. If you're in one of those regions where you get snow, it can be very magical because you're a kid, you're still kind of learning. And like I said, I used to build snow forts and stuff, and um with the kids, the neighbor kids, we used to come out and just build whatever snowmen and And of course, if you're in a region where it's wet, or you have fires or whatever, yeah, they can be really scary. I mean, I would not want to be in Tornado Alley, but I kind of would, because I love learning about tornadoes. All right, I admit it. I admit it. But going back to the love of nature. So that there's also the love of nature, even though nature can be cruel sometimes. That love of nature. In fact, my coven just said, if you can, this spring and summer, or in California, if you have nice weather, excuse me, and it's not raining. Um, I don't know how much rain do you get, Matt?
I'm
Do
in
you
the
get much?
desert. We don't get much
Okay.
rain at all. We've had like
Okay. Well,
3 or 4 days of rain this whole year.
okay. Well, excuse me. Oh, hiccups. If you happen to be a part of nature where you are, even if you're in a desert, just take your shoes off, take the socks off, just go in that dirt or sand or whatever you have around your house. I know some people might be in Arizona and they have sand everywhere. Fine, go out into the sand and feel that love from Mother Earth, because the earth gives you love. They give you nourishment. The sun gives you nourishment. So the Mother Earth, and then the Sun God, or the God Son, or Father Son, is what I'm trying to say, um, gives us nourishment. So the love of nature, the love of planet Earth, we're on this little blue planet for a reason. So and many people have gardens. You can grow your own stuff to nourish your bodies and make your bodies healthy. I think that's something to aspire to. I wish we could have gardens, but we kind of have to get permission. um, but I would love to grow my own stuff, so my own vegetables, my own herbs. um, you know you know what, something I would definitely grow is cinnamon, if I could, or mudwort, because I asked my one teacher, I asked her if she would do a mudwort tea recipe, just like a simple one. And then, that would help with your astral projection at night, your lucid dreaming. It also helps with your psychic abilities. There's so many great things that teas will do, if you can drink them. And I should drink more tea to, make me healthy and get the sickness out of me, of course. Um, so I think that, the love of nature and love of people, friends, family, uh, even neighbors. You were talking about neighbors earlier. We have um, ex neighbors of ours that we used to live close to, and they have pretty much adopted my son. I mean, they literally act like his grandparents, even though they technically are not. They have no relation to him. But yeah, they love him like a grandson and treat him as such. I mean, the boy has an Xbox over at their house. I'm like, I can't afford that. And they're like, no, it's okay. He just plays, Paw Patrol or something. Forgot what the other game was. Paw Patrol World or something. I can't remember what it's called, but it has something to do with Paw Patrol. But he plays it over there. He plays these games, and they're okay games. They're kid games, whatever. I don't mind that. But the more adult games, I don't want him to play yet, because I just don't. I think he's ready for those kind of games yet. um, but his father also played video games when he was young, and he tried to get me into Skyrim, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Um, I was more for well, he plays that Castle of Illusions. It's Mickey Mouse, and you have to face oh, the lady from Snow White. So the old crone, and then the beautiful queen. Um, and then of course you have to go through these worlds and stuff and save Minnie. You have to save Minnie Mouse, right? He plays Castle of Illusions. That's because he likes Mickey Mouse. He loves Mickey Roadster Racer, and even though he's 8, he still loves Mickey Mouse. Um, so I mean, and they love him, like I said, like that is their grandchild. I never asked them to do that. They just kind of did it, and they fell in love with him. And that's good. I think someone told me one time, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village. And even people who are not blood relations still love him as if they were. And I think that's great. I think the more love a child has, the better is he can grow and mature and know things that kids and as young adults should know. And that should be the love of even if they're not technically strangers but friends, the love of friends. I don't know, I can't speak for you, Matt, but I had a lot of friends in high school. So the love of friendship too. So when he does have a lot of friends. He'll tell me about all his friends at school. Oh, did you play with so and so today? Yeah, yeah, we were on the slide and sliding down the sliding board. Oh, cool. Um, so Matt, let me just ask: did you have a lot of friends, or was there more like centralized best friends for you?
Depends on what year. Some, but in
Okay.
high school, more. Yeah, I guess I did. I associated with a lot of people at least.
Okay. Yeah, I did too. But there was one main person that I would call my best friend. And in fact, she just told me she was pregnant again. So, so good job.
Congratulations to them.
Yes, yes. Her and I have been together, and we had very controlling mothers. I think that's how we bonded so well. We had mothers that were kind of abusive towards us, and we couldn't figure out why. And really, I'm glad that she's with her guy. I keep telling her, if you want to get married, it's up to you and your guy. But I mean, you don't have to. But I mean, that's something to aspire to. If you feel like that step would help you, then I think you definitely should do it. Again, completely and honestly up to her. I'm not going to push it, but that's not being a good friend. Being a good friend would be, to encourage her to, and like I said, she was kind of weary of telling me about the second pregnancy, only because, mishaps can happen. When I first um, got with my ex, we had a mishap, and I was very devastated. I still very am, because I wish that would have carried to term, so to speak. And I wasn't very far along though. So it didn't make it any better, of course. But that love that you feel when you are expecting is very, I think it's very, I don't know, something happens to a woman. I can only speak from my experience. When you find out you're expecting, you're just like a whole new love hits you. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense for our audience. And men feel that too. I'm not saying that men don't. Um, my ex sort of was in the middle of it. I don't really know how he felt about that. Um, Probably more towards the negative emotions, but it hits everybody differently. And I was ready to be a mom. Um, in fact, I was told I probably, would be a great mom, and I am. um, so I think that her finding love and our friendship has really led to, um love of friends. So love of friendship and the friendship love. She is like, I can honestly say this straight out. She's like a sister to me. She is like an older sister to me. My guy, he has a best friend. His best friend likes me, loves me as like a little sister. So, um, even that, like, when you have a significant other, or you have someone in your life in a relationship, and their friends like you too. So, I mean, there's like that give and take, and that love for friends. Of course, his family. I love his family. His family loves me. Um, so, and you get into that where you share that kind of love of family and friends, not just by yourself but also through a significant other. And that's always good. Yeah, I did have a lot of friends in high school, but I only had like one best friend that I could, trust her um, with my secrets and my, crushes, back then. Um, and and her and I are still best friends. We never really lost touch too much. Um, I've had friends come and go, but she has really always been that best friend for me. And again, it's like when you have that closeness with a friend, they can almost feel like your family, even though they're not. And I feel that closeness with her. She's always been like a big sister to me. I always had something to look forward to when I would go to her house, and we always, always, always had fun, no matter what we were doing. Whether we were bowling, because that's sort of how we met. Our parents bowled on the same league. When they had the bowling alleys, kids, they had bowling alleys back then. And her and I kind of grew up together. It was it's good to have someone you can always rely on, tell your secrets to, and they see you when you're at your worst. You see them when they're at their worst, and you still want to say, I still want to be that person's friend. That's something I think everyone should aspire to. If you don't have that, that's okay. You trust in who you trust. My guy is my best friend, um, but in a different way, if that makes sense. So like he's someone I trust. He's someone I share secrets with. Um, but I don't like because I'm a straight lady, I'm what they call a cis woman. I It's different with him and I, because we have that bond, that closeness. Yes, we are boyfriend and girlfriend, and maybe married one day. We'll see. um, but that love that I have for him is it's different for her. Like she's like family to me. Not that he isn't. He is going to someday be my husband, but I think that's different in a way. Do you, Matt? You kind of understand what I'm saying
Oh,
there?
sure, 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 absolutely. And I think every friendship is different. I mean, you
Right.
just relate to someone for whatever reason, you just click in totally different ways, and sometimes it doesn't even make sense. Same with relationships,
Yeah.
like you see that opposites attract, and you're just like, how in the heck did those people ever get
Come
together? And
together because it always seems like the when they break up, they really, really hate or not hate each other, but they disagree a lot. They fight all the time. And that's kind of how it started with me and my ex. We would fight all the time, and it needed to end. And I needed to end it because I was already with my guy, and I just didn't want any part of it. So I think what kind of happened was, we weren't getting along as much. He was staying, I'll edit that. Oops. He didn't want to come and see my son as much, even though it was his son too. There was like a disconnect there. Fine, he can go off and do his own thing. I moved on, and I feel as if the reason why we were kind of at each other's, bad sides for a while is because he didn't forgive me for moving on. He wanted to have me, and I just wasn't, I wasn't there. Not mentally, spiritually, I just didn't want to be with him anymore. So, I ended it, and then I got with my guy, and I think he blamed me. And it went on because, I said you're going to be financially responsible for your son, and that's that. Um and that's fine. He can do whatever he needs to do. That's his business. Um, that's all in the past now. I would say we're having a good relationship, or at least a civil one, where we can at least talk to each other about our son and kind of leave the rest of the drama out of it. That's where I wanted it to begin with, and it just seemed like he was bringing in drama, and I didn't like that. Um, trust me, I have a lot going on in my life, guys. I don't need drama in my life or access drama or anyone else's drama. Um, but and that can happen in relationships when they go bad. Sometimes drama is part of the drawback of, ending a relationship. Um, but I would say that my man and I now are soulmates. Dare I say twin flames? Because we have that connection where we're finish each other's sentences, and he'll be thinking of me and I'll be like text him to come over, that kind of thing. um it happens that way where we're on the same page, right? And it's been almost 7 years now. Almost 7 years. Wow. And I mean, we're still crazy in love with each other. We still say I love you and that we're crazy about each other. Um, and when you find that kind of love, I think that connection that we're all looking for, um, it can be very eye opening. It can also be very, especially when everyone was like, well, stop looking for love and it'll find you. How right they were. I really wasn't looking for much because I thought my ex was going to um, change. But again, you can't change anybody who doesn't want to change. They got to want to change themselves. Um, he changed, just not for me. And that's fine. I wasn't really looking for him to change when I met my guy. Um, so I think it can be very eye opening, very spiritually opening when you find your soulmate. And it's something we all look for, definitely. Um, and if you don't have it, don't worry. Stop looking for love and trust me, boom, it'll happen. I was one of them skeptics. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, I'm going to meet my soulmate. That's a laugh. And then I did. And I was like, oops. Boy, was I wrong. um, it just happens. It happens in that moment where you're not even looking for it. So if you're single and looking, maybe kind of take a break, take a step back, take a breath, and kind of let things come to you. You know, I think it's worth looking into, obviously. Um, But Matt, I would say, you might be feeling a certain way. Maybe she's kind of not on the same page. If that happens, maybe take a breath. Take a breath, stop looking. Maybe just let her come to you, so to speak.
Yep, she's taught me so much patience, and I'm writing a book about it. It's been that transformational of a experience. I've known her for 4 years, so
Okay.
and we've not yet met in person, but we've been friends for 4 years, and I think she's my soulmate. I'm not sure if I'll be able to talk her into that, but we're close friends, and the
Yeah.
inspiration she's given me has been worth everything. So,
And
sometimes it's not bad to be in the friend zone. Everyone is always like, "Oh, you don't want to be in the friend
you
zone."
don't want to get it
That's not
there.
necessarily true because
No.
if best friends make the best relationships, and if it's meant to be, there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's going to
Yes, it
happen.
will happen.
So, I totally agree. Though you've got to let it happen. You can't be too much because that can ruin things. And if you're
And,
not ready, like you were saying, you've got to
yep.
love yourself first.
Yep.
Otherwise, it just can't happen. So
You
totally
gotta
agree.
take that what did they call it? Explanatory or exploratory. You gotta take that self-love explanatory or exploration. There we go. Exploration where, you know, they always say you can't fix anybody else. You gotta fix yourself first. And if that person loves you enough, they will fix themselves for you. Or they'll fix themselves for someone else. In the case of my soulmate, again, we were kind of, put together and we didn't realize that we had something here. He kind of knew about me, but, he had to, we were in certain circles, we kind of met through mutual people. Um, and that can happen too. Like the person that you're supposed to be with is right in front of your face and you don't even know it. So we had like, mutual friends and stuff. Um, so I think that when someone is put in front of you like that, You got to explore it. So yeah, you start out as friends, and that's how it should be. Yeah. Because, I mean, if you have a best friend in this person, you're more than guaranteed that it's probably going to go to romantic love. Now, it doesn't always, but sometimes, or you're more likely. Because if you can trust in that person, you can share your secrets with that person, then yes, you're more than likely to, be with that person or share love with that person. Um, yeah, we were friends first, and then, it just so happened that, I had a crush on him and he had a crush on me, and it just all came together. And I like that. I like that. He's also very spiritual. So he likes to do healing, and he's learning about Wicca, you know, um and like I said, I didn't push anything on him. I just said, if you want to convert, that's fine. If you don't, all I ask is that you have patience with me and toleration. And he was like, "No, I actually want to learn how to be a male witch." Okay, cool. Um and so we are, excuse me, teaching him everything he should know, cuz um I cuz I asked him, I said, if you want to join my coven, you can." And he's like, "Well, I mean, if you join, I'll join." So but so I was solitary for so long, and now I, converted another witch, cuz I mean, he should be a witch. I think he has powers that he's not even sure he's aware of. But I think he does have that kind of love and compassion, especially for animals. Big dog lover. Um, he's warmed up to my cats. Okay, he's warmed up. He wasn't really a cat person, but he warmed up to my cats. He said, "Your cats are kind of good." Okay. Um, I'm a big dog person. I watched that Puppy Bowl, Matt. Right. I don't watch the Super Bowl. I watch the Puppy Bowl, and boy, did I want to adopt all those dogs. There's not a one dog I didn't want to adopt. I was like, "Oh, come on, they're already adopted." Darn it.
Dang.
um, yeah, I know. And I shouldn't watch the Puppy Bowl, but I just can't help myself. They're just so cute. You just want to, and hug them and stuff, rub their little bellies. Um, and I'm, like I said, dog and cat person. I don't mind. The only thing I don't think I would have is like a snake or something, or like a lizard, or anything too exotic where, I'd be like, if it got out, I would be like afraid for my life if it got out, because it might, at me or something. And no, I'm not all about that. But so anyway, to wrap up, everyone, I hope everyone had a good Valentine's Day, or whatever you celebrated 2 Fridays ago. Excuse me. Was it last Friday or two? It was 2 Fridays ago. So I'm sorry for the lateness, but again, recovering from my sinus infection, as it will happen from time to time, and I always get sick around the seasonal stuff. I try not to. I try to use a nasal spray to keep my allergies at bay. That doesn't always work, as we've all found out. But to wrap up, love is what you make of it. Whether you have a best friend or soulmate, or you have friends around you, like a small group of friends that you would call, someone, people you trust with your secrets, and they trust you with their secrets, excuse me. Um, I think that's wonderful. I think it's wonderful to have, and I think it's wonderful however it happens to you, whether you're single but you have friends. Hey, you're still loved. Those friends still love you, as a friendship love, and you're still a part of someone's life, and who cares about you? Who cares about your well-being? And that could be you. Maybe you care about yourself, and you should. You should have self-love and take care of yourself. Sometimes you got to take care of yourself. Um, I'm very selfless, and I like to take care of people, but when I get sick, or I feel down, or I feel ill, usually that means I need to start taking care of myself. And my soulmate worries about me all the time. He wants to baby me. He told me that he wants he wishes he could come over all the time and like feed me soup and stuff, like I'm a little baby or whatever. But I said, you know what? I like that. I like that you want to do that, but I would rather just be in your arms all day. That to me is more comforting than you know, treating me like I like I said, I like that he wants to do that. It's just I don't need that. Although he loves to protect me, and yeah, he will hold me for hours on end. And I like that. Um we will sometimes we'll be gentle when we do the hootie hootie. And we're very gentle with each other when it comes to that stuff. Because I mean, if I'm too sick or I'm too tired, it may not happen. So um but again, there's that, he wants to take care of me when I'm sick. And I'm like, well, I sort of have to take care of myself. Because this is telling me this cold is telling me I need to take care of myself because I'm taking care of everybody else's needs, my son's needs, my father's needs. I'm taking care of everyone else, my soulmate's needs. And it's just not, I'm not taking care of myself and I need to do that more. So I think that I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I know we went on some rants. We tried to keep it all about love. Um, and it all goes back to love, because as the Beatles said, as John and Paul said, all you need is love. Well, actually, that's not how the quote goes. It goes, remember what John and Paul said. The apostles? No, the Beatles. All you need is love. So that's from the movie Michael. If anyone wants to look it up with John Travolta. It was one of my favorite quotes because I was a big Beatles fan. I still am a big Beatles fan. Love the Beatles. Um, like I have like their entire anthology. Huge Beatles fan. Anyone else out there who likes the Beatles, I'm right there with you. There's also like a song that I just can't get out of my head, and it's a song that my soulmate gave to me. It's called "The Wedding Song" from Bob Dylan. And I like Lay Lady Lay, but I'm really liking this song because he asked me to listen to it and he said, "This is how I feel." And it's beautiful. The lyrics are so beautiful. I just was like, "Ooh, love you too." So if you do happen to have a significant other, and you want to give them a song and tell them how you feel about them, listen to the song first, because if it's not how you feel, then you shouldn't give it to them. But the Wedding Song from Bob Dylan, great song. And I feel just as much love for him as he does for me, um, when he asked me to listen to it. So anyway, Matt, any closing thoughts about love?
Oh, I mean, there's nothing worse than unrequited love. Look at Apollo and Daphne chasing her until she turned into a tree. But at the same time, look at the myth of in this Skirnishmal story in the Poetic Edda. Freyr gets inspired by Geirth, and he would do anything for her, trading a magical sword and a magical horse for her. And he still misses the sword during Ragnarok, the final battle. But when you find that inspiration, that's what it's all about to me, being a poet or an artist of any sort. So yeah, that and trust, which is why it is so good to be friends first, because then you get to know somebody and trust, and be careful moving in with somebody too soon because that can change things for the worse. Um, but change is always in life, so sometimes you just got to go with it and make the best of it, and be patient. I think that is such a huge thing, and communication. Um, if you can't communicate with somebody, you got to learn how. You got to listen instead of just hearing, so that you can have honest communication and open communication, because that changes everything. But like you said, love yourself first, and you know, life is beautiful, whatever it is that you love. And best of luck to everybody.
Love yourself first, and the rest will follow. Yep. I'm not a very much poet, and neither is my guy, but he can still make me swoon for him. And he knows that very well. Um, and all he would have to do is, say, "Oh, well, blah, blah, blah," and I'd be like, "Yeah." Yeah, that's how I feel. So guys, I hope you had a great holiday no matter what. Now, next week is March 2nd, something or other, 3rd. I forgot. Anyway, next week we will come back with another subject. Actually, I think we should talk about Odin. So, everything about Odin. And that would be my lovely co-host would I'd like you to provide everything about Odin because I think
Inter-
we should start talking about gods and goddesses and you know their histories and I mean I can do Hecate. I can also get my teacher on and we can both talk about Hecate. Trust me, we can talk about Hecate all day long. But this is only an hour show, so But so next week, I'd love to talk about Odin. And then I do want to let our listeners know that we're going to try to get Sonia Smith back on for Ostara to do a special Ostara either ritual or we just have her on for the holiday. March 21st, we will try to get her on either a little bit before, maybe on or before, whatever her schedule we can do. Um, I know, Matt, you were talking to her. I can also talk to her, but we're trying to get Sonia Smith back on so that we can do a holiday thing with her. And then, of course, I think I'm going to do the ritual. I'll say it, and you can follow along however you want to, just like I did for Imbolc and also for Yule. I'm going to try to do that all around all the holidays. So that'll be coming up for Beltane, and then, of course, Midsummer, and then Mabon. And then we're definitely going to try to do something like we did with Sonia last year for Samhain, because I definitely think that I just love Sonia. She is like such a great friend of mine. And I love her advice. So, and I want her back on the show. Of course, we want her back on the show. So we will try to do something with her. Um, you know, when it comes to holidays and, you know, like we did for Samhain, we could probably do another seance or, you know, contact spirits or whatever, whichever ones like to come through. So, all right. I hope everyone enjoyed this. And again, I hope you had a wonderful holiday, whether you were single, whether you're attached. Like I said, self love, and then everything else will follow. All right, guys, that's it for us this week. And next week we'll be back and we'll talk about everything about Odin. So, everything about Odin. Until then, have a great week. Blessed be everyone. See ya. Blessed be everyone. Hello. I just want to let everyone know that the outro music is AI generated. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. And also, if you would like to generate your own AI, the link in the description field will be for their website. Blessed be everyone.
In the woods where the whispers run deep, underneath the moon, where secrets we keep, she dances in the shadow with the silver tide. Candles flicker soft, guiding light as a guide. Her altar's filled with herbs and old charms, lost in ancient spells, safe in her arms. Stars weave a tapestry across the black sky. With a chalice raised high, she lets out a sigh. With her sacred circle drawn tight, calling to the spirits in the quiet of the night. Her magic's in the earth, the wind, and the seas. She whispers ancient words, swaying like the trees. In a grove of oaks, where the world stands still, she gathers her strength with every Sabbath thrill. The moon's tender gaze, casting shadows cold, the stories of her craft in the twilight retold. The room by the her doorstep, sweeping away all the dark shadows of yesterday. With the cauldron bubbling, herbs to the air, every spell she casts is a heartfelt prayer. With her sacred circle drawn tight, calling to the spirits in the quiet of the night.